You are walking into a room you have never entered before. The light hits the wall a certain way, someone laughs in the hallway, and suddenly your stomach drops. You have been here. You have lived this exact second before. You freeze. You try to remember when, but the memory slips away like water through your fingers. Most people call this déjà vu, a glitch, a hiccup in the brain. But the real answer is far stranger. And scientists have finally started to uncover what your mind is actually doing in those haunting seconds. For over a century, déjà vu was dismissed as mystical nonsense, a trick of tired minds, something poets wrote about. But in 2016, cognitive psychologist Akira O'Connor at the University of St. Andrews did something no one had done before. He recreated déjà vu inside a laboratory. He fed volunteers word lists designed to create false familiarity. Then he scanned their brains as the illusion hit. What he found rewrote everything. The regions lighting up were not memory regions at all. They were regions of conflict, of checking, of doubt. Your brain, it turns out, is not remembering the past. It is auditing itself. Déjà vu is the sound of your mind catching itself in a lie, a tiny internal alarm that fires when your memory system tries to trick you into believing something familiar that never actually happened. In other words, déjà vu is not a flaw. It is a feature, a fact checker, a silent editor built into the deepest layers of your consciousness. And its job is terrifyingly important. To understand why, you have to travel back, not decades, not centuries, tens of thousands of years. Your ancestors lived in a world where a wrong memory could kill them. Which berry was safe? Which path led to water? Which face belonged to a friend and which belonged to a rival tribe? A brain that trusted every flicker of familiarity would lead you off a cliff. So evolution built a checker, a second voice inside the mind that whispered, "Wait, something is off. Look again."
Neuroscientist Anne Cleary at Colorado State University spent years testing this. She built virtual reality environments that secretly copied the layout of earlier scenes, but changed the surfaces. When volunteers entered them, déjà vu exploded in their minds. They knew something matched. They could not say what. Her conclusion was chilling in its simplicity. Déjà vu happens when your brain detects a pattern it recognizes, but cannot consciously identify. It is your ancient pattern detector, still running, still scanning, still trying to protect you from something you cannot see. But here is where it gets darker. Déjà vu is not evenly distributed. Young people experience it far more than the elderly. It fades with age. And in patients with certain forms of temporal lobe epilepsy, déjà vu becomes constant, overwhelming, a flood. Neurologist Chris Moulin studied one such patient who lived in a permanent state of familiarity. He refused to watch the news. He said he had already seen it. He refused to read books. He claimed he had read them all. His brain's fact checker had broken. Everything felt remembered. Nothing felt new. Think about what that means. Without déjà vu, your brain would not know the difference between real memory and invented memory. Every stranger would feel like a friend. Every lie would feel like truth. Every hallucination would feel like history. That tiny shiver you feel in an unfamiliar room is not a bug. It is the last line of defense between you and a mind that cannot tell what is real. Your ancestors survived because their brains learned to doubt themselves, and you inherited that doubt. Now look at the modern world. You scroll through faces you have never met, but somehow recognize. You walk through cities designed to feel familiar. Hotel lobbies, coffee shops, airport terminals, all built from the same template. Your brain's ancient checker fires constantly, screaming that something is off, that you have seen this before, that reality itself is repeating. Some researchers now believe déjà vu is becoming more common, not because our minds are breaking, but because our world has started to look like a copy of itself.
So the next time it happens, pause. That flicker is not a memory. It is a warning shot from a system older than language, a whisper from a brain that survived ice ages, predators, and famine by refusing to trust itself blindly. You are walking into a room you have never entered before. The light hits the wall a certain way. Someone laughs in the hallway, and your stomach drops. It is not the past calling you. It is your mind, quietly protecting you from a world that increasingly feels like a lie. And think again.